up to 50% profit with a Krispy Kreme fundraiser in-shop or online. So let's raise some dough at Krispy Kreme Donuts next to HCA Hospital, 23rd Street, Panama City, and on the Ross Clark Circle in Dothan.
Are you ready for Panama City's best pizza? Then check out the new Guru's Pizza 786. They don't do just pizza, they also serve wings, pasta, calzones, salads, sandwiches, and more. Guru's Pizza 786 has 50 plus Indian and Italian pizza varieties. They're open Monday through Thursday until midnight, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday until 3 a.m. Takeout and delivery are available. Guru's Pizza 786, 7806 Front Beach Road. Call 850-588-5055. Better quality and better taste.
Ben and Deb Collins, owners of Bay Guns and Gear, have been in business since 2010, offering new firearms and accessories with a huge selection available for your hunting needs and personal defense. Turn to Bay Guns and Gear. They have the weapon for you. Discount pricing. And if you can't find what you're looking for, they'll special order it for you. Bay Guns and Gear, across from Grease Pro at 3115 Highway 77. Visit their website, baygunsandgear.com.
Our connections make powerful things happen, uniting individuals and communities. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And together, we turn great ideas into reality by accessing our networks, our experience, and the best of ourselves to make a difference. Around the world, Rotary brings leaders together to build new friendships and to solve problems. Like in Austria, where generations work side by side to build sustainable housing and community centers. In India, volunteers run a mobile blood bank to help provide a steady blood supply for their local community. And in Taiwan, people are working hard to get vulnerable citizens the support and services they need. With over 1 million members, we know what people can do when they come together. Take action with us. Find out more at Rotary.org/action.
As the Atlanta Braves continue to battle through the National League, they've got all of baseball on notice that they're ready to make another run.
Swung on, driven to deep center. That's in the water. Two-run jack again for Matt Olson.
Tonight, don't miss a minute of Atlanta Braves baseball live from American Family Field in Milwaukee as the Braves face off with the Brewers.
Coverage starts tonight at 5:55, first pitch at 7:10 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN, Northwest Florida.
Your home to the NFL. WGSX Lynn Haven. WVLQ Port St. Joe. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Are you ready?
Okay, let's begin.
Drip. The Afternoon Underdog Drip. Live and local. Inside the Talkhouse.
Unleash the Dragon.
On the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're live. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida. And you're in the Doghouse. We're live and local. You can give us a call or text throughout the afternoon today, 850-215-6290. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. And you can get the app and take us with you wherever you go. Just go to your Apple App Store or your Google Play Store, type in, I almost read off someone's number here. Type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. Hopefully everyone's out there having a fantastic Friday afternoon. Really, you got to give a big shout out to all the people who are working outside right now.
No doubt.
We've got Travis in the building with us right now. You've been working outside, right?
Yes, sir, and that hot.
It is.
Yeah, if you do landscaping, if you're like a roofer right now, like, man, I used to be a hot tar roofer. I remember that day.
Yeah.
But no, just joking. I would never do that job just because of that. That was just a joke. That's the kind of job, if I did it for a day, I'd probably go on my lunch break.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't come back.
We're in rarefied air today, Bone Crusher. We've got Caveman Rick cracking jokes today. Let's go. This is going to be a great afternoon. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick. We've got Travis in the building with us and Bone Crusher on the ones and twos with the drippity drip back there.
You ever do that? Take a job and then not like it and then just like
Concrete.
break or
I did
something
concrete
and
for
to take
one.
off?
I did concrete for one day. We finished up the job. We didn't even pour the slab. We just got it ready for the slab. Got it all graded and all that good stuff. And then he was like, "What time you want to meet here tomorrow?" And I was like, "I'm not. Nah, I'm good, buddy. I'm good, buddy."
Thanks.
Yeah. So that was one of those times where I was like, and you really do respect. You know, you gotta respect what those guys do and hard work. They do great jobs and everything. But it's like, nah, man, because it was midsummer like this.
My son, he lays pipe, man, for big, like, construction type companies, like, impact kind of stuff. We're building brand new subdivisions, and he's out there every day. So I feel for you, Cody. If you're listening, son, I love you, man.
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated out there. Make sure you got tons of waters. But I was really just like thinking about it when we were standing out there a few minutes ago. Really appreciate all of those guys and all the hard work and effort that they put in. And again, it's still got a lot of highway patrol and police activity out there. So make sure that you're driving safe and obeying the speed limit. They're always out there this time of the year to kind of crack down on all the speeding and all of that, all of those activities, if you will. So make sure that you're obeying the traffic laws. We do not have an opportunity for you guys to win the Blast at Bay Point today. Coach Olds won that earlier this week, but we're going to have a new number for you Monday. So your next opportunity for the Blast at Bay Point is going to be at 8:40 in the morning Monday on the Coach James Hale Show. And actually, Travis in the building with us. Did you see Coach Hale today?
I did.
You did.
He took off whenever he saw me.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I was up there, and he had something he had to do before I got to talk to him, so he had to run to the back.
So Travis went up to Max Fit Sports Nutrition, which is Jason Kovaleski's store, and
I almost stopped there today.
Yeah, the Coronado Shopping Village over there by Granny Cantrell. So I don't think that the grand opening is still going on. I think that stopped at 2:00 today, but they still, still a great store. I believe they're open till 7 tonight, 5 on Saturdays.
I'm not sure. Okay. I know I went in. That's the first time I ever been in there. Obviously, any of them. It was great
though. When I drove by, that was one of the reasons why I couldn't stop by. I was running a little late. I saw I didn't even know if I was going to be able to park. So I just kind of kept going.
Some great people in there for sure.
Yeah,
all the workers and all great.
Make sure you get on over there to Max Fit Sports Nutrition and check out all the great stuff. I know you got a great product for them or from them today as well. So we got a lot going on in the sports world. Sam Peebles is going to join us in the very next segment. We'll be talking Atlanta Braves, trade deadline, all of that good stuff. And then for the rest of the afternoon, you just got us. Oh, wait, I've got my dad in the building with us today. So I'm going to get him on the air with us at some point. Dad's in town from Pensacola, so that should be a lot of fun. And he's a big Rays fan, so we can razz him about the Orioles taking over first place now in the American League East. I believe that was in extra innings last night. Caveman Rick, Slam Ball is back, and it's going to be starting tonight on ESPN because some celebrities got together and pulled up $11 million for Slam Ball to return to ESPN tonight. How do you think that will measure up to the Women's World Cup, United States playing tonight at 8 o'clock to open up their journey in the World Cup?
Unfortunately, I think those guys just dropped $11 million for no good reason. I mean, it's Women's World Cup. It's every 4 years. It's the team from our country that actually matters in soccer. The men haven't won a World Cup.
The only one that matters. All the hype right now is for 2026 and for right now for the Women's World Cup. If the women win this one,
they're a dynasty. 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
So they officially call them a dynasty.
Can we say that in soccer, if you win back-to-back World Cups, isn't that like somewhat of a dynasty? No.
In this day and age, we've had this conversation, I know,
but
before.
This is different, though, when you're playing for something every 4 years, though.
Hyperbole. Everybody wants to proclaim that they've just seen the greatest thing out there. To be a dynasty, it's always been you have to win at least 3 in a row or more to be called a dynasty, back to back.
But they're not even the same dang rosters, essentially, by the time that you get to the third World Cup.
It doesn't matter.
I disagree. I think that it's a dynasty on back to back.
I think we're doing pretty good, but like Brazil, they've won back to back before. I think maybe even France has done. So no, not dynasty. Got to do 3.
If the U.S. men's national team wins 1, that's a dynasty.
That's no No, that's an anomaly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We'll
You
give
throw
it
that one
another
out,
word
you know?
that ends in a Y. We're not going to have the real fishing report today, but we are going to have a very special the real fishing report update, which will be airing Saturday and Sunday, voiced by our very own Caveman Rick. But Caveman Rick, why will we not have the real fishing report?
Well, our good
today?
friend Tim got married.
Yeah.
And he's overseas in Portugal right now, having a great time. I actually texted back and forth with him a few times yesterday. He says everything's going well. Seen some pictures of him and his beautiful bride. It sounds like he's just having just a phenomenal time. I know he'll tell us all about it here in a couple of weeks when he's back. And I just hope he's being safe out there. And like I said, just hope he's just having the time of his life over there.
Did you get any chance to go fishing this week at all?
No, I did not. I actually did pick up some new gear today that I'm going to try, maybe out this weekend. But no, man, it's been too hot, unfortunately. You'll hear what I have to tell you in the fishing report if you listen about when maybe you should go due to the heat.
There you go, and make sure that you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida tomorrow morning for the Real Fishing Report update with Caveman Rick.
Sunday morning as well.
This weekend, in place of Tim Braddock, who's over there in Portugal right now. I didn't get to go fishing, but Taylor and their company took a deep sea fishing trip this last Wednesday, and she got a cobia that was about bigger than she was, and a ton of snapper. I actually got a little bit of some snapper and some cobia at the house right now.
And have you sampled any yet?
No, I have not, because I actually I think she just brought it home today.
Awesome. Well, you need to get that going on the grill or something later on the night or tomorrow before it sits around. Nothing better than fresh fish, especially.
There's not a whole lot of it, though.
It doesn't taste any better than the fish that you caught yourself.
Well, I didn't catch it, so I'm not even going to eat it then. And she doesn't like fish, so now we're just in a...
now you're in a conundrum.
Yeah, we're in a conundrum.
She needs to try it, at least.
I'll make her try it, or at least try to get her to try it, rather. Now, we had talked before on the Real Fishing Report with Tim about cobia, and for some reason, my recollection of the conversation was that the meat wasn't that it was a very gamey fish. But then whenever I looked it up, and I could be totally
delicious.
Okay, so that's what it was. I was totally wrong about that.
When people say gamey, I don't know if they're saying fishy taste.
Yes, that's
because
exactly
you have the people that
means.
say I like fish, but I don't like fish that taste like fish. Well, then you don't like fish.
Yeah, exactly.
Right here, y'all.
It's like if you go out.
Hold on, we got Bone Crusher.
Long John Silver's every day.
There we go,
That's my
man.
fish right there.
But I mean, chicken nowadays, you go to the grocery store, you get boneless, skinless chicken breasts. It might as well taste like water. The stuff nowadays out there, because people, I guess, just don't know what good food tastes like. Now, if you went out and you got a chicken that was on a farm that had been running around eating bugs and living its life like that, and I guarantee you went over there and wrung its neck and plucked that sucker, it's not going to taste the same as the one you got at the grocery store.
I tell you, I can agree to that, but you gotta season that.
We'll ask Tim when he comes back. When I lived overseas, when I lived in the Azores over there by Portugal, the beef even tastes different when you just eat a steak. It's almost like you don't even need to season it. It tastes more beefy. It tastes more real. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. And unfortunately, here in our country, in a lot of ways, we've lost a lot of that. It's kind of sad.
I know we went, my company took us fishing a couple weeks ago, and we caught a cobia, a bunch of snapper. But I tell you what, though, the best fish I ever had was right there, because they cooked one up that we had caught. Good Lord,
you're talking about the cobia?
It wasn't a cobia. It was a snapper.
Snapper's great. Grouper's great.
But it was fresh. We're talking an hour ago, this thing was swimming.
From what I heard, or from what I read, actually, afterwards, that with cobia, you could just, kind of like tuna, you could just cut it up right there on the boat and eat a couple of slices.
I guess, I don't know. I never have, myself, but I guess it's possible. It's really possible probably with any animal or fish, as long as, it's clean, it doesn't have any kind of parasites.
So let's do some live sampling then, right here on the show with some raw fish. You guys ready for
with
some
your 3-day-old
sushi?
Raw fish, right?
No, it's not.
I know. I'm just saying, it was caught Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it was caught Wednesday.
Friday, so a couple of days. So I'm sure it's been on ice. I was just, being a little facetious.
Yeah,
just saying.
No, we'll try it though. I've got a butter knife in there. We'll make some sashimi, and anybody can bring us some soy sauce real quick. Then we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, or some wasabi, or
we did that on the boat too.
Yeah,
some whatever you just said.
Soy sauce.
Soy sauce.
No,
wasabi.
Sashimi.
Yeah. It's just a thin slice. I used to roll sushi at Pompano, so
I can't stand raw fish.
Yeah,
so it wasn't me.
it wasn't for me.
Some stuff's pretty good. I mean, I've had the raw octopus before. That's pretty good too. You just have to have it, I guess, cut the right way so it's not like tasting like a rubber band or chewy like a rubber band.
I like my fish cooked.
There you go, man. The Ravens are signing Melvin Gordon, and that might not be the most interesting running back signing of the day today. The Giants going out and getting James Robinson and Cole Beasley as well. Is this a retort to what Saquon Barkley, and some of the things that he's came out and said since not getting the extension?
Yeah, no doubt. They're saying, okay, Saquon, if you don't want to play, all right, we'll sign James Robinson and Cole Beasley for probably a third of what we're going to pay you to play. And unfortunately, if Johnny Yankee seat, I'm sorry I'm saying this, brother, but like they're putting their faith in Daniel Jones, and they're saying that by giving him a old, broken down, maybe running back, a slot receiver that's probably seen better days. And they did beef up their wide receiving, for just a little bit before that. It's not too terrible, but we do know
it's better than what it was last year, at least as far as name recognition and not production goes.
Right, but we do know that Saquon, like the Giants are going to go with Saquon last year. And without him being there now, you just dump $40 million into Daniel Jones and you might not get, 20% of your return back on that money. So it's kind of I don't want to say it's a mystery to me. I understand why they're doing this. I just would have thought, if you dump that money into Daniel Jones, you had to know that you got to pay Saquon in order to keep it together and to keep it rolling.
But if the NFL is right, and I don't mean the NFL here, but if these teams are right and not prioritizing the running back position, and they feel like a James Robinson or a Matt Breida can fill in that position seamlessly,
we'll see.
Then we'll see about that.
Time will tell. That's exactly what will tell. So,
if Saquon sits out the entire year, and the Giants don't have a lot of production from that running back position, but at the same time they're finishing the season around 8-9, 7-10, or even better than that, I still can't see how it makes more sense to just go like, is Saquon 100% the answer if your record is, kind of similar to what it was last year, or at least your statistics across the board.
That's definitely fair. And like I said, James Robinson, like a guy like you said, a Matt Breida, Melvin Gordon, these guys are just, willing to pay or play for like the league minimum.
Right.
These guys are, playing for peanuts. They know they're not, the names and the faces that we're used to seeing out there as being the number one guys running the ball. So, unfortunately, like I was telling you before we came on, this is akin to if running backs were on strike. If I was a guy like Saquon, if I was a guy like Dalvin Cook, if I was a guy like Josh Jacobs, I would look at guys like, Melvin Gordon and James Robinson almost like scabs crossing a picket line, because here they are playing for like nothing, taking jobs away from those guys in a sense, and lowering the value of the running back position overall across the league. Now, if a bunch of these running backs decided they didn't want to play, maybe they'd have to pay up.
Well, and it didn't have to be that way, at least for Saquon, because, of course, you may not be happy that you're not getting the deal that you wanted. I would be curious.
He's hurting himself for next year as well.
Right. I mean, to sit there and talk that way about a team, regardless of if you feel disrespected or whatever, there's only 31 other NFL owners, and if you're ticking one of them off, you're ticking all of them off to a certain degree, and you can ask Deshaun Watson about that.
And one of the owners that's actually been around for quite a long time and is actually probably listened to by a lot of the owners in the Mariners.
Yeah.
Whenever I heard what he had to say, it was like, come on, man, that's not good on your person.
Well, yeah, it's not going to look good for your future at all, like to come out there and drop the F-bombs about your team. And
nobody wants an Antonio Brown.
Or Le'Veon Bell. And look at Le'Veon Bell, like to an extent, right? His career, he might have been the best running back to ever, touch an NFL field had he stayed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he didn't. Antonio Brown, same boat, and look at what's happened. So the thing is you've got your ego jacked all the way up to here, and you think that your value is matching with it, where in all reality, your value is wherever the team says your value is.
Well, your value is whatever someone's willing to pay you.
Exactly, what the team says it is.
Money's not going away. Salary caps go up every year.
It is for us, the commoners.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, the us that are like not the 1%ers. But the salary cap goes up every year, so there's more money to be spent every year. The money's just being reallocated in different areas. They're paying more of a premium quarterback, wide receiver. If you're an edge rusher, these are the guys that are getting paid. I mean, like the average or top end of wide receivers where they make like $28 million dollars a year, for some of the top guys. And then you got running backs where if you got the franchise tag, a guy like Saquon's at $10 million, and that's a far cry from what it used to be. I mean, remember how valuable running backs, used to be. Mm-hmm. Are we going to see running backs, even in college, win like Heisman's and stuff like that? Are they going to be devalued in college now?
I think it's a lot different at the collegiate level, just because of how often they're used. Like you look at a Jahmyr Gibbs and even a Quinshon Judkins, how they're going to be trying to utilize him in 2023. But a Jahmyr Gibbs last year for Alabama, who was all over the field. A Bijan Robinson for Texas, who was all over the field, and they're creating value. Look at Bijan Robinson, who went top 10 in the NFL draft last year to the Falcons, and he got a big payday because of what he meant to Texas. So I don't think that is going anywhere, and we see this all the time in sports, like the cyclicalness of it all. And so it'll be a time, but I think that the NFL's got to come together to figure out a way, like make it to where their rookie deals are only 2 years. I'm not the one who's came up with that. I've heard it from Allen. I've heard it from Tyler Bishop, but it makes a lot of sense to me.
With the wear and tear on the bodies that they have, they take more hits than just about anybody out there.
But
so
then again, if you're
sense.
The league, like the cheaper you can get off with your roster, that's the
it's not
position
cheaper
you want
though.
to be
you
in.
have the cap, like you said, like you're
Right,
spending
but
the same amount of money,
right? But if you don't trust in that position and you're spending less on that, then that affords you to let's go to the left tackle and spend a little bit more here, or to the right tackle. So
see, the way I'm thinking on this, like it's on the Saquon part at least, if he would just go to the Giants and take what he's got, take what they give him, and roll it for a year. Maybe they'll give him more next year. But what he's doing right now is showing all these 31 other teams, that he has absolutely no filter, and whatever you do to make him mad, he will air it on the.
Well, and my issue with that though is you're gonna have a monster year now why won't the Giants just do it all over again next year and just re-franchise tag you? I believe that you get two franchise tags, so they could do it twice, and then you're in the same boat.
And that's been collectively bargained.
Exactly. So now, like, whereas before you needed like that 1,300 yards rushing maybe, and then like a total of 1,500 to 1,600, I think if you're Saquon Barkley and you want the Giants to re-sign you, which who knows if that's the case at all, you got to have like 1,800 total yards for them to be like, this is worth the trouble.
He can't get signed now too, because it's changed. Like, he can't get signed, say week 2, week 3. The Giants are like, hey, you know what? We really need you.
Yeah.
Here's $20 million. This is it.
Yeah.
So it's either you're playing for this $10.1 million or whatever it is, or you're just not playing, homeboy.
And is it worth it to lose out on the $10 million when in all reality, are you CMC, Christian McCaffrey's making $16 million a year, so I could see Saquon maybe in that. Right, so I could see him in that $15 million.
Same injury history.
Is it worth to sit out for a year and not get $10 million over a fight of $5 million? Now, obviously, it's kind of hard for us to wrap our heads around that. The reality of it, you know what I mean? If our feet were in his shoes, then that changes the whole.
They're both in states with lots of taxes, so it's not like one's over here in Florida and the other one's like in, say, New York or something, where you're saving money too, because you don't have that state tax.
Well, we're gonna hold on. We've got to go to a break. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're gonna take a little break from football, talk some baseball with Sam Peebles, and then we'll get back onto this conversation in the not so far away future.
It's here. The 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app version 2.0. Now featuring ultra high fidelity. You'll feel like you're in the game. Plus more opportunities to win weekly prizes from local businesses when you click it to win it. Download the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app today at Google Play or the Apple Store.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. Sunny the rest of the day with a wind at 13 miles per hour coming out of the west-southwest and 89. Tonight, look for mostly clear skies with a temperature near 81. Tomorrow, a high around 89 and partly sunny in the morning, but otherwise likely thunderstorms. Sunday, quite warm with a high of 83 and very heavy rain and definite thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies, new and vintage cards, and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports, and can always be reached at instantReplaySportsCards.com.
Don't call it a podcast.
Frequency modulation is a big step forward in radio.
Broadcasting live from the world's most beautiful beaches. The Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
1-1 pitch. Belted. Deep left field. Stay fair. Good! Home run, Orlando. There goes the shutout. There goes the no-hitter. There goes the perfect game. 1-0 Braves.
Oh, that is teed up perfectly. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This was just yesterday afternoon when the Braves were taking on Zach Gallen, front runner for the NL Cy Young, and Orlando Arcia broke it up there. And I believe the 5th inning. Now you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned into ESPN Northwest Florida, and we're on the line with Sam Peebles, who's host and creator of the Braves Dugout podcast. Sam, thanks so much for giving us some of your time. I know you've got a class to teach in just a little while here, but thanks for joining us. And what'd you think of that game yesterday? Spencer Strider going up against Zach Gallen.
Oh, man, that was awesome. It was kind of interesting because we had just had that conversation about how I thought Zach Gallen was the front runner, but Spencer Strider might be able to catch him over the rest of the season. So it was really cool to see those two go against each other.
Do you worry about Spencer Strider? Like, you know, he was, as Max Delighten put it yesterday, he was saucing and then gave up the 3-run homer, the back-to-back home runs to give the Braves a deficit there, but then the Braves offense got hot again as that series was just absolutely wild. But I've heard from one of the guys that calls in on the Inside Drive. He's made the statement that he thinks that Spencer Strider might need to go to the bullpen. I don't think that the Braves I don't think so. I think that he has a good point, but I really like seeing Spencer Strider kind of lead the pitching staff for Atlanta right now. What's your thoughts on that?
No disrespect to whoever said that, but that's one of the dumbest things the Braves could possibly do. They have some people hurt in the bullpen, but first, the rotation is much more important than the bullpen, first of all. But second of all, the Braves if they have a weakness, it's their rotation. And so why would you take their best pitcher right now and move them to the bullpen? That doesn't really make any sense. Really, the issue with Spencer Strider is that he should not have been left in the game that long. It's hard to pull him when he's striking out batters at such an insane clip. And you want to see how far he could go and get how many strikeouts he could get. And it's not the postseason, and the Braves have a huge lead in their division, so might as well let him go out there. But really, if the the division lead was shorter, if it was a more important game in the sense of like lose or go home type deal, they would have pulled him. And they probably would have pulled him an inning earlier. They were just letting him go out there. He probably should have been pulled the inning before. If you look at his numbers, like his fielding independent pitching, his expected ERA, and things like that, he's actually been really unlucky this year in terms of his actual ERA. And so, and his underlying metrics show that he's been unlucky as well. So I do not see a world where it makes sense to move him to the bullpen.
Well, the Braves are on the road now tonight, Sam, taking on those Milwaukee Brewers right now. Soroka going up against Peralta tonight. What do you think? What's your expectations from the pitching matchup tonight before we look at the rest of the series?
It's going to be interesting because Mike Soroka has not really found his form again. Of course, we didn't expect him to, being injured for 2 full years, but he's been giving up way too many home runs for 9 innings. And fortunately, the Brewers are not exactly the most powerful team in the league, but Mike Soroka's got to keep his home runs down if he wants to be effective. And Freddie Peralta used to be one. I mean, when he first came out of the gate, he was, looked like he might be the next bright pitching star coming out of the Brewers organization, but he's been struggling this year too. So it might be a shootout tonight.
Coverage will be starting for that game right here on ESPN Northwest Florida at 6 o'clock. First pitch tonight at 7:10. What you got, Caveman
I was
Rick?
just going to say those Brewers just took 2 or 3 out of my Phillies, so watch out. Yeah, they're not too shabby.
Yeah,
they put some runs up on us and they shut us out, I believe, yesterday 4-0.
So what's the expectation from your perspective for this particular series after getting off of the 4-game losing streak and getting back into the win column against the Diamondbacks yesterday?
Well, I think they just kind of, the Diamondbacks coming at them as hard as they did, hopefully was an eye-opener to say, hey, you've got the division lead. You're probably not going to lose the division at this point, but you still got to stay focused. I mean, we knew that coming out of June, there's no way they're going to continue to win at that pace. I mean, they were setting records left and right, so we knew that this was going to happen. I mean, it was the first time they've lost consecutive series since May, so it was bound to happen. Someone said on Twitter today, they said even probably one of the most famous baseball teams of all time, which is the 1927 Yankees, they lost 4 games in a row too. It happens, but I think if you're going to lose 4 games in a row, right now is the perfect time to do it, to kind of, not get too cocky, if you will.
Yeah, and we're inching closer to that deadline. It's going to be August 1st. Has there been any new names that's jumped out to you or that you've thought of that the Braves could be interested in trading for, or Alex Anthopoulos be interested in trading for?
Man, it's such a weird thing because very few times have I been right on trades with him, just because he thinks of trades that no one else does, and that's why he's so good at what he does, right? After the fact, when he makes the trade, you're like, oh,
that makes sense.
But beforehand, like, a lot of times Alex Anthopoulos trades for guys that, like, if you go on like MLBTradeRumors.com or something, they always have like a top 50 trade candidates based on likelihood of being traded. The Braves hardly ever trade for those guys. They typically trade for someone you're not even thinking of, so it's really difficult to say, but I would love to see him pull in Lucas Giolito from the White Sox. I'd absolutely love that. Even though he gave up like 6 runs the other day, I do think that he would be huge for the Braves to get. But really, as we've seen, the Braves' issue is not their talent, it's their depth. They keep getting hit left and right with injuries, so they just need to get more on, above average arms, whether it's the bullpen or the rotation. I'd be fine with either.
I know you're sick and tired of talking about Shohei Ohtani, so I won't even ask you about, they're not talking about Shohei Ohtani, but talking about the trade destinations and all of that good stuff. So I want to ask you, who's more likely to be traded, the Padres, Juan Soto, or the Mets, Max Scherzer?
Juan Soto.
Juan Soto?
No one is taking on Max Scherzer's contract.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not a chance.
How do you think Steve Cohen's feeling about the decisions that he's made with the pitching staff primarily?
Sorry, I lost you.
How do you think that Steve Cohen is feeling about the pitching contracts that he's given out to staff with mainly Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer?
I think he's learning real quick that when you sign someone for what they can do for you in the future, not what they've done in the past. That's why you don't sign 39 and 40-year-old guys to $40 million contracts.
Isn't that kind of the opposite of how baseball's been, though? And I agree with you 100%. You should sign them for what they're going to do, not what they have done. But isn't that kind of like where this whole baseball money thing came about, because guys were getting paid for what they'd done even later into their careers?
Yes, if you look at the amount spent on free agents, you have more odds of a free agent signing flopping than you do of it being a surplus value. Of course, at the same time, Max Scherzer himself has been an example of one that did work out really well. In his previous contract, it was even though it was a ton of money, it was one of the best contracts in the league. Now that he's gotten older and he's starting to decline some, now he's one of the worst contracts in the league. Fortunately, it's not like a 10-year contract or something that's flopped like a Chris Davis or something like that, but it's not looking good for the Mets.
Switch gears a little bit, if you don't mind, Sam. I got a question for you about my Phillies. Rob Thompson's deciding to move Bryce Harper over to first base just to see, what the Phillies have as far as moving forward and as far as maybe making a trade. What do you think about that move? How do you think, Harper will do? And then do you think, the Phillies will make a move for somebody, and who?
I honestly love the idea. I don't love the idea of leaving Harper at first base permanently.
I don't think it's permanent. I think it's just for a little bit, the next couple weeks.
With Rhys Hoskins, still being under team control and coming back later, I love the idea of moving him to first base in a short-term basis. I think that's a really cool move. I mean, you got to shake things up. You got to do what you can to make your team better, and I love the idea.
What have you been thinking about the kind of, I think resurgence is a little strong here, but Austin Riley, especially yesterday with a triple and a 3-run home run against those Diamondbacks, what have you, is there anything to attribute that to, or what have you thought of it?
It's kind of hilarious because literally like that night that he had 7 RBI, like I was going to write an article about Austin Riley and how he's struggling. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write about something else. And thank God I didn't, because that would have been such a poorly timed article. Yeah. Because typically they go out the next day. But, but yeah, I think it was really more so he was just due for it. Austin Riley's an extremely talented player, and he'd been slumping. I mean, he's been slumping since he signed that contract, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. But, it's just time. We know that he was good enough that where he's going to start hitting again. And thank goodness it was, on a night when the Braves really needed it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And perfect timing, too, because I was sitting there doing a little show prep, and Randy came in and he was talking to me, and the score was at that point 5-3. And then I look up. I wasn't watching the game. I had the game cast on ESPN. I look up, and it's like shooting the fireworks up or whatever, and Riley had just hit that 3-run home run. And then I got onto my phone and put the MLB app up and started watching the game from there. And Raisel Iglesias, man, it's kind of been, would you say inconsistent, or is that too strong?
I think he came from a pretty serious injury and then didn't have a spring training, and it's been a long time since he's had to deal with that. This is the first time in his career that he's had to deal with an injury, skip a spring training, and then come in and be the closer. 4 years previous to this, he was a top 5 closer in Major League Baseball. So is he going to get over it and get more consistent? I don't know, but yeah, he's definitely inconsistent for sure, and it is a bit concerning. But I think over a longer period of time, it's going to even out. The metrics show that he's been unlucky, but that, with just like any other relief pitcher, since they pitch so few innings, the ERA and stuff like that is so volatile, because they could have one bad outing and it just bloats their ERA and stuff. So hopefully you can be more consistent, though. I agree.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're chatting with Sam Peebles. He's a contributor at SB Nation Battery Power, also at Fansided and The House That Hank Built, and he is the host and creator of the Braves Dugout podcast. Sam, Bryce Elder, how are those peripherals looking?
They've been bad all season, so it was really, they've been below average all season, let's put it that way. His expected ERA, expected batting average against, all that stuff has been much lower or worse than his actual output. So really his peripherals are catching up to him, unfortunately. And I hope it's not to a point to where we just see him flame out, kind of like an Ian Anderson type. I'm really hoping that's not the case. But statistically, it's showing that it's definitely possible. So hopefully he can make the needed adjustments now that batters have adjusted to him, because that's going to be the biggest thing, if he can make adjustments or not.
What do you think? What would you say, Sam, is the best deadline move ever? Maybe not ever, but just while you've been following baseball, what's the trade deadline move that stands out to Sam Peebles the most?
Probably Fred McGriff to the Braves.
Nice. I'm sitting there. I'm on Braves.com, and they're talking about that being one of the best deadline moves ever, and he's going to be headed to the Hall of Fame here. Is that tonight?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. Go ahead.
You remember telling me about the debut of Fred McGriff the other day with the fire in the press box, and then he hits like a game-tying home run in the game in his debut for the Braves, and that was at the old The old stadium, right?
Yeah.
The old Fulton County Stadium.
Sam, who needs to tinker with their roster more at the deadline? Is it going to be the Tampa Bay Rays or the Atlanta? Well, I can't throw the Braves in there. I was going to try to go with a team that's leading the league, but I mean, even the Rays right now are second in the American League East behind those Orioles. So let's say the Rays or the Yankees. Who's in more dire need of a roster tinkering with at the deadline?
I would say the Rays, just because I don't think the Yankees are going to make the postseason. So
let's go. Baseball fans unite.
Yeah.
I would have said Yankees just because of the fan base and, like, you know, what they're expecting, you know. I mean, at the start of this season, everybody was thinking if you're a Yankees fan, they could go all the way.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was looking at my Facebook memories today, and 9 years ago, I made a post that said, it must be really interesting being the Yankees, spending all this money to buy championships and haven't won one in decades.
Hey, and now the Mets are going to be following that blueprint there. Let's see here. Who's the other team? Let's see. Outside of the Braves in the National League, what is the team? Let's go with the Phillies and the Marlins. Who needs to retool that roster at the deadline a little bit more?
I think on paper the Phillies are a much better team, and the Braves have the fourth easiest schedule remaining, right? But the Phillies have the fifth easiest remaining schedule. So the Phillies have a much easier line or track to make the postseason, if you will, than the Marlins do. If the Marlins want to make the postseason, they're going to have to add more than the Phillies do. On paper, the Phillies have an easier schedule and they have a better roster. So the Marlins need to add more if they really want to make the postseason.
And like you said earlier, Hoskins is coming back. Just brought up Rojas. So, I mean, it's not like, other, like, pieces that aren't, like, everyday pieces right now that are still being able to be used. So, yeah, definitely I would think it'd be the Marlins.
And then when we look at the National League West right now, Diamondbacks or Giants, because it's kind of that race for second place, but they're only 2 games behind the LA Dodgers at this point. Who has the better deadline? Do you think it'll be the Diamondbacks or the San Francisco Giants?
I think that I would not be shocked if I see the Diamondbacks make a trade for a player that you didn't see coming that has like 2 or 3 years of team control left. Because with that core that they're building right now, they're showing that they can be competitive, and they can be competitive for a while. So I'd love to see the Diamondbacks pick up someone like a David Bednar, or someone that has like 3 or 4 years of control left, and really help them for years to come.
I wasn't thinking your angle, Sam. I was thinking more the Giants, just because of them swinging for the fences, trying to, make some big moves the last couple of years and actually failing. And then finally, I would think that maybe they would make something happen and get a guy that they finally are coveted.
Yeah, with the amount of, with the expectations they have, I wouldn't be shocked with that either. They don't want to continue to slowly drift off into the oblivion.
Yeah, and the Game 3 to bounce back to the Brewers and the Braves series is going to be Bryce Elder going up against none other than Julio Teheran. How weird is that going to be watching Julio going up against the Braves for the first time in a long time? Or is this going to be his first start ever against the Braves?
That's going to be absolutely bizarre. I hope that the Braves light him up, but it's going to be nice to see a familiar face up there, just like tonight with seeing, Wild Bill Contreras behind the dish. It's awesome.
It's amazing how that trade has worked out so well for the Atlanta Braves. And, we still got to love William Contreras and all that he was able to do for the Braves in that season that he had last year. But I don't think we'd have it any other way. And then the Braves lock up Darno for another year with another $8 million deal. Alex Anthopoulos is just insane, ain't he?
Yes, and I think a lot of that has to do with Brian Snicker creating an environment for players wanting to play for him, too. I think Darno could have gone somewhere else, made the same or more money to be a starter. So I think that says something about the environment.
Wow. So the combination of a great general manager and the manager, it definitely creates that culture that you yearn to see as a fan. Sam, thanks so much for your time, man. You take care and enjoy the rest of your evening and teach a great class.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Absolutely. That's Sam Peebles. He's host and creator of the Braves Dugout podcast. You can find that wherever you listen to your podcast. The Atlanta Braves will be starting their coverage tonight here on ESPN Northwest Florida at 6. First pitch tonight at 7:10. We're going to be right back, and we're going to play a little traffic jam and trivia.
Northwest Florida is on location at Dave & Buster's. The Afternoon Underdogs are broadcasting live at Dave & Buster's Pier Park with half-price cocktails, half-price games, free Dave & Buster's game cards, and choice swag from ESPN Northwest Florida. Join David, Kyle, Amanda, Drew, and a cast of sports fanatics every Wednesday from 4 to 6 with fun and prizes at Dave & Buster's Pier Park with ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Friday. Sunny the rest of the day with a wind at 13 miles per hour coming out of the west-southwest and 89. Tonight, look for mostly clear skies with a temperature near 81. Tomorrow, a high around 89 and partly sunny in the morning, but otherwise likely thunderstorms. Sunday, quite warm with a high of 83 and very heavy rain and definite thunderstorms. This weather forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Living on the Gulf Coast, we have beautiful beaches, clear water, and amazing marine life. Want to bring a piece of the ocean into your home or office with an amazing aquarium? Gulf Coast Aquarium, the area's only certified platinum CCHEM dealer. Their staff are all certified CCHEM specialists. Gulf Coast Aquarium can install, design, maintain, and finance your own piece of the Gulf. Gulf Coast Aquarium, powered by CCHEM, with over 40 years as a U.S.-based manufacturer of quality aquarium products. Online at GulfCoastAquarium.com. Gulf Coast Aquarium, where it's more than just a tank.
Hi, this is Matt Lewis with Reliable Hydraulic Solutions. We offer comprehensive diagnostics and repair service for all types of hydraulic units, such as hydraulic and pneumatic cylinders, hydraulic pumps, motors, and valves, as well as a broad range of hydraulic hoses and O-rings. Give us a call at Reliable Hydraulic Solutions at 850-326-3000 for any of your hydraulic needs. Or come see us on Commercial Drive off Jinx Avenue in Panama City.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdog.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Well, welcome back. It's ESPN Northwest Florida on 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick, Travis Peterson, and Bone Crusher is with us as well. The trivia question from yesterday, Patrick Mahomes, 64-16 in the regular season. In those 16 losses, only 3 quarterbacks have defeated him twice. I had this on the air for 2 days, so we're just going to give you the answers. It was actually Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Ryan Tannehill. So we're going to have traffic jam and trivia today. The question is, who was the Jaguars' first ever draft pick? You don't even got to tell me which pick he was. Who was the Jaguars' first ever draft pick? 850-215-6290. And again, we're not going to be playing the Blast at Bay Point today at 5:40. We're going to be getting back to that Monday at 8:40 on the Coach James Hale Show with a brand new number. So make sure that you're tuned in to be caller number 10. When you hear the cue to call in, be caller number 10. Guess the number. If you get it correctly, you and a guest win a round of 18 at the Bay Point Golf Club. They're the beautiful Nicholas course right here in Panama City Beach. If you don't, if you get it wrong as a consolation prize, we're going to hit you with a large bucket of golf balls on the driving range. The Braves update brought to you on the break room, even though Sam Peebles just gave you all the Braves update that you need. Today's special is hamburger steak. Specials are just $12. So make sure that you go check them out and make sure you tell them that the Afternoon Underdog sent you. And you can give them a call, 850-588-8310. I know that they're looking for a little help in the kitchen right now, part-time, but if you do a great job, that you might find yourself with a full-time position. The specials for next week, Monday is going to be meatloaf, Tuesday is quesadilla, Wednesday is spaghetti and meatballs, Thursday is chicken pot pie, and on Friday, today, hamburger steak. They're $12 and they come with a drink, a side, and a dessert. And again, the Atlanta Braves right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, coverage starting tonight at 6, and the first pitch is at 7:10. Yesterday in the world of Major League Baseball, Jared Kelenic broke his foot kicking a water cooler, and he's going to be hitting the 10-day IL. That's a tough pill to swallow, man. I know that you get ticked off and everything, but when you hurt yourself being mad, that's not great for your team.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you got to control your emotions, right? You're getting paid a lot of money to be out there to, play games and win games, and then you're, putting yourself on the IR like that. You would think teams might have a little bit more like clauses in contracts where if you do something like that, it might be a little more detrimental to you, so that maybe it'll curb some of this action, by people every now and again.
Well, let's get over to Jordan. Jordan, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, playing a little trivia with us over here. Who was the Jaguars' first ever draft pick?
Tony Baselli.
Yes, sir. Where are you calling from, Jordan?
Lynn Haven.
Lynn Haven. Awesome. Who's your football team? Let's go NFL and then we'll do
Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys. All right. So over under 10 picks. Let's go 9.5. Over under 9.5 interceptions this year for Dak Prescott, and we'll say Zach Martin doesn't play.
I'm going to do this just for the Bozeman basketball coach, Matt Granville. I'm going to say under 9.5 interceptions. He's a big Dak Prescott fan. So.
Hey, there you go, man. How do you guys think y'all will do this year? Do you think, I've got a Philadelphia Eagles fan in the house with me and Caveman Rick. Do you think that the Cowboys can overcome the Eagles and win the East this year?
Oh, absolutely. Philly had the last place schedule. They had the benefit of playing last year. A lot of fortunate scheduling for them. They got to play the first place schedule this year. Different year for Mr. Hurts.
Who's your college football team? And then I'll let Caveman Rick reiterate if he wants to. But who's your college football team?
Florida State.
Florida State. All right, so let's I've got a Florida Gator fan in the house with me as well, but for Florida State, let's ask, do you beat Clemson or LSU or both?
I think he split.
Split? Which one do you get the win in?
I like to hope LSU.
I love it. Caveman Rick, any comments?
All right, so on the Dak Prescott, I'll go with you on the under, because with no Zach Martin, I think Dak gets hurt. He doesn't have the opportunity to throw 9.5 under interceptions.
Hey, Jordan, man, thanks so much for the call, and keep calling and talking some football with us. It's going to be a great football season this year, and if you like fantasy football, I'm going to be opening up the registration for the leagues on Monday at 4 o'clock.
All right, thanks, man.
Awesome. Just say, hang on the line real quick, Jordan, and Bone Crusher's going to grab some info from you, all right?
Go Gators.
Great call, even though he's a Cowboy fan.
Oh, my goodness. You guys are badgering my guest right now.
Maybe we'll get more people to call in.
There we go, 850-215-6290. We do have a winner for trivia, but again, we have came up with our date for our fantasy football draft, which is going to be August 26th at 11 a.m. out there at Dave & Buster's. We're going to be in the function room again, and just like I mentioned, Monday at 4 o'clock, right out of the gate, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. It's very easy to sign up. I need 3 things from you. I need your name, I need your email, and then I need you to be able to tell me without it, just tell me that you're going to be available August 26th, and if anything changes, when it changes, I need to know as soon as possible. I'm going to try to have 5 people at least on the back burner this year, just so that if we don't, if someone does pull out or anything, I have someone that I can replace rather quickly with. And another thing is, I've been having a lot of people ask me about it this year, which means that if we get to a position where I've filled up the leagues really quickly and people are still looking, then I'm going to make another league. And so we're going to have 4 leagues of 12 next year. And what we'll do is, moving forward, the champions, the toughest league of them all, will become a 16-team league at that point. So it will be definitely extremely hard to stay in the Champions League. So it's going to be fun. And if you guys are interested, the only other thing that I ask is just keep up with your lineup. If you are losing week in and week out,
and stay in it.
I know it's not money.
End.
Yeah, I know it's not money, but that's the whole point of this is bragging rights. So if you've got someone who's, if you're last place, but you're playing the winner of the league, knock them out of contention.
Yeah, be spoiler.
What'd you have, Travis? It looked like you. I thought you were jumping in, though.
I'm listening.
You a fantasy football guy?
I am. Yeah,
there you go.
I gotta. I'm gonna be on the team, or I'm gonna do it this year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I can get available at 11.
There you go.
I work all day. So
well, just tell them that you're sick that day. Just go ahead and plan it out and be like, look, I have a sick day coming up August 26th, and I'll be in around 12:30 or 1 or so.
August 26th.
August 26th. It's a Saturday. It's the final Saturday.
I don't work on Saturday.
Well, then there you go. Boom. He's ready to go. Yeah. And we're going to be taking text for that 850-215-6290 Monday at 4 o'clock. So if you text me today, it is what it is. I'm not even going to, I'm not going to have it in there.
Retroactively look back.
Yeah, exactly. Because it is, once we get rolling on this, we get a lot of text, and you try to get through there and sift through the system and find everyone. It is pretty tough. What do you think about the Baltimore Orioles? And we'll talk to my dad at some point in time about this as well today, him being a big Rays fan. But what do you think about the Orioles taking over the Rays for first place in the East? Do you think that it will last like that, or do you think that the Rays get hit another hot stretch?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, the Rays are already overachieving as it was this whole entire season, as far as I consider it, with the roster and everything. The Orioles, I guess depending on who you are, you might think they're a surprise just because of their history and their lack of success that they had for quite a while. But they have a pretty good team. They got a pretty good roster, So I think they're just going to probably be neck and neck, and it's probably going to come down to like the last series of the season, and whoever wins that series is probably going to end up going. And not that they're saying they're playing head-to-head, but coming down to probably the last 3 games. If I had to bet right now, just because of the rosters, and I think, like I said, the Rays are just overachieved and got lucky, I think maybe the Orioles.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that if you look at it like this, if you say that the Mets got lucky last year for their whole entire run, and then it's hard for me to say that a team gets lucky by playing a whole half of a baseball season, 81 plus games, and it's having a great record, and then you look at the run differential, which is not the end all be all, but I think they're sitting at 144 in the positive, looking in the green, and it's almost like you look at the rest of the American League East, it is like the rest of them combined aren't even touching that number.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, how can you keep that up?
Yeah, though? How do you continue to stay at that level? So that's why I would say I think if I was the I'm more confident in the Rays to win it because I think that they have the experience, especially with Kevin Cash there. I would say that the Rays end up as the American League East champions here, but I love the fact that it's Baltimore. It's not New York. It's not Boston.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's Baltimore that's running with them, and that makes it a lot of fun. I think it's great for baseball that all of these young guns are turning into what we expect them to be, or what we want them to be, not necessarily expectations, because it's so hard with baseball for these guys to live up to expectations, and a lot of times there's not a whole lot of expectations on them anyways, because they've been drafted and then kind of forgotten about by unless you're a hardcore baseball fan, you kind of get forgotten.
Yeah, and now
along the
hopefully
wayside.
too, with these teams playing really well towards the end of the season, this last half of the season, hopefully we'll see, like on things like Sunday Night Baseball, more primetime games, it will be some of these teams that have been the kind of cellar dwellers for quite a while, but now are actually playing pretty well, and see them, in the spotlight and in prime time, instead of seeing a bunch of more of, Yankees, Sox, or like, Dodgers, Giants, stuff like that.
Yeah, we can. You think, Travis? Do you think that Shohei Ohtani is going to get traded this year, or will he go to free agency?
Honestly, I'm still doing research on all the baseball and Shohei Ohtani, but from what I hear, it's a great player, and honestly, I think they should keep him. But
what do you think of the bat flipping lately?
I think, man, he's like coming out of his shell a little bit.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, he's been so like kind of reserved and stuff for quite a while, and now he's showing a little like emotion. You're seeing a little other side of him. Is that because of this possibility of the trade and stuff like that, and trying to up the value, that making the more of a showman?
Like, not only am I as good as all of these hitters, but I can be exciting like that and not so reserved into myself, and maybe then
that alone could get him an extra $10 million a year.
Dude, what if he we talk all the time about why Ronaldo in some people's eyes is more marketable than what Leo Messi is, and it has to do with speaking English. Imagine Shohei Ohtani not having to have that interpreter there,
but that helps him a lot.
No, it does. It gives him that wall. But I'm not talking about for what happens on the field. I'm just saying where he's at as a professional athlete right now, and if he was on commercials and stuff like that, like, I think that, and this is wild to say, but that's Patrick Mahomes type level. Like,
I'm going to say
commercial-wise.
something that some people might take offense to or not, but I think
That's
if you
pretty easy
are,
these days.
especially for me, let me tell you. But if you're going to make the kind of money that they're talking he's going to make, over $500 million, maybe $600 million on this deal, I think you owe it to the American people, if you're here and we're paying you, to learn English and get rid of the translator and talk to us.
But wait, who says that he's not learning English?
He might,
though?
you get what I'm saying, though?
Well, exactly.
Don't use the crutch. Don't use the crutch. Don't use the filter. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. So let's say that
when
you're
in
playing
Rome,
soccer.
when in Rome.
Let's say that you're playing soccer, right? And then the Saudi Arabian, the PIF league comes and gets you, and you
I would
have
try to
there.
learn
Yeah,
Muslim.
you would, but would you? Well, it would be Arabic.
Arabic. My bad.
I would try to learn the religion. No, but my question is, you would still be trying to learn it and everything, but would you not take an interpreter? Like, would you just be here? I'm going to make a fool of myself, talking your language to you and not knowing exactly what I'm saying.
At first, but with him being an athlete over there in Japan and him being that talented, he knew he was coming over here, I think, quite a while ago.
So he should have been.
So he could have already.
You know what? Don't worry about how good you are at hitting. Don't worry about how good you are at pitching.
He could have been picked up Babbel. While he was traveling.
Get in
and
your cell phone and figure out how to speak the language of the country you're going to.
They say that English is the hardest language to learn.
It is probably, no doubt.
Well, I would say
our version of English, not traditional English.
Well,
because we're a melting pot. Ours is everything from around the world.
Right.
We have stuff from French, in our words, Spanish stuff, Latin. Russian stuff, Latin, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and
no other language.
I would say a large part of that is the grammar side of it, like what you're talking about. So many words that if you're hearing them, you would think that they're spelled the same, and then when you see them, you're like, "What in the world? How is this even pronounced the same?" And then all of the different dialects, you can go, it's kind of like. What do they call chip or fries over there in the
Chips.
UK? Chips, right?
Yeah.
Whereas here in America, we call them French fries. And what I'm about to say is we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back with hour number 2 as the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 81 with a 5 to 10 miles per hour wind out of the southwest. A possibility of thunderstorms and some sun tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 88. Likely thunderstorms and light sprinkles in 89 in the afternoon and evening. 83 indefinite thunderstorms and very heavy rain with a light breeze Sunday. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Bestway Portable Buildings has been your portable building specialist since 1989. Before you invest your hard-earned money someplace else, owner Jason Mulder invites you to stop by Bestway and get a quote on just about any size building. And whether you buy with Bestway or not, it's worth the trip just to meet Bestway Buddy. Say hello, buddy. Good boy. Bestway Portable Buildings, just north of Harts Marine on 231 and online at bestwayportablebuildings.com. The best in portable, period. Tell them Buddy sent ya.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
The Atlanta Braves play here.
And the Braves are back in
front.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John, ESPN Northwest Florida.
As the Atlanta Braves continue to battle through the National League, they've got all of baseball on notice that they're ready to make another run.
Swung on, driven to deep center. That's in the water. 2-run jack again for Matt Olson.
Tonight, don't miss a minute of Atlanta Braves baseball live from American Family Field in Milwaukee as the Braves face off with the Brewers.
Coverage starts tonight at 5:55. First pitch at 7:10 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
On the run, caught. Time to let the big dogs eat.
How about that answer by Georgia? To the end zone, touchdown, Georgia.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
We're back. It's hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick, Travis Peterson, Bone Crusher, and the other David Hayes, the real David Hayes, the senior David Hayes. What's going on, Pops?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I might have to get that. You're gonna have to get a little bit closer into that mic, and we'll turn it up. You doing all right today, though?
Doing fine. Doing fine.
Yes, sir. So them Rays, man, it's been a great season. I know you've been extremely ecstatic about them.
Yeah,
we've been texting back and forth, but yeah, it's tell me what you've been feeling through this struggle that they've been dealing with.
Honestly, last night was one of the saddest nights in my existence, Radio Land. No, seriously, last night even Dwayne Stats had a downtrodden sound to his voice because last night was the first night that the Rays weren't in first place all season.
Yeah,
that's never been. That's in.
This is the first time that the Rays have been at the at first place in the American League East in the All-Star break, going into the All-Star break. Yeah.
So in the 25 years of their history, this is phenomenal. 60 games, and then 14 out of 18.
Right.
Recently, it's just
14 out of 8. I didn't even know it was that bad. I knew that it was struggling. I know the Phillies. The Braves. There was 2 out of 3, which that was a good series. A lot of back and forth there, and the Rays got the best of the Braves in Game 3 of that series. But what are you thinking right now? Like, who is the team? Is it going to be Baltimore and Tampa back and forth? Do you see a world where the Yankees can work their way back into contention for the American League East?
Honestly, I feel pretty confident the last half of the year. It seems like Baltimore and Rays are going to just be neck and neck from here on out. I don't see either team sliding backward.
Yeah.
Nor, to answer your question, I don't feel like Yankees or Red Sox or Toronto, really, for that matter. I don't think either of the other 3 teams are going to make it.
I think the Yankees are front runners. If they were doing really well, then I think you have to look out for them. But they're the kind of team that they ain't got it going on right now, and they're not going to pick it up and get it rolling.
It's almost like they are so elite or whatever, or at least look at themselves as elite, that they can't use that motivation of a chip on your shoulder.
Right.
Like how the Rays can, because they're... Dude, all right, so there's probably 0 chance that Shohei Ohtani would go to the Rays, right? But let's just say, if you're the Rays, if you're Kevin Cash, if you're the general manager of the Rays, why not do whatever you possibly could to go after Shohei Ohtani and get some tails in that seats to try to save the franchise for the city of St. Pete or Tampa, whichever one wants it the most?
Wouldn't Ohtani be worth more than the stadium itself?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, he's nearly worth the whole state of Florida. I mean, honestly. And this is one of those cases.
Hey, don't be talking about. Hey, come on, we all live here.
I'm just saying, but I mean, the Trop, that's like the second worst, right? You got.
Yeah.
I mean, to land Shohei, we would have to mortgage the entire state of Florida, is what I'm saying. I mean, but to me, it's worth it. I mean, all these years of super productivity on the mound and at the plate, and he's not slowing down at all. I mean, All-Star break was like, wow. Like he's one of these cats that will command, I think, high dollar. But to me, spot on. If I had any kind of connection with the Rays organization, I would be like, look, just let's sell every other player on the team. Do we have to get him in? Because talk about putting people in seats and fill the stadium, and that might. I mean, this year has, I think, been more of a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Like somebody mentioned a couple days ago on the show or last week, whatever, that they tried a couple years ago to get a stadium in Ybor City, and that fell through.
Yeah. I want to say that might have been Richard, but yeah, keep going.
There's going to have to be something that will be a catalyst to keep them in the area, or something's going to happen with location or whatever. And I hope they stay. I mean,
no doubt. I mean, especially we were there kind of 2 years after they opened up the franchise. We moved to St. Pete, 2000?
2000, right.
Yeah. So, and that was a lot of visits to that to that stadium,
yes,
man.
Sir.
Remember the beach
memories
up there, then $3 seats, and then we would just run around all the empty seats. If they had cups in their seats, boy, we'd come home with stacks of those plastic stadium cups, dude, the souvenir cups. That was a lot of fun, man.
Before the snakes were being made.
Yeah, we were making our own snakes by bringing them home and then making them home. Well, not making her, but Mom would have to wash them out, and it'd just be smelled like beer in a house that didn't really drink beer.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Stale beer.
Oh man, what? I think you were about to say something.
I've never even been to a baseball game.
Oh, what? We got to get you up to Atlanta, man, or even
I'm
Tampa.
down.
I think this time of the year, this is what's so wild to me, and I know that me and you have talked about it, Caveman Rick, where there's a lot of stuff to do in Tampa, but I mean, it's an air-conditioned stadium right there in South Florida. Like, why would you want to be sitting outside baking when you could be inside petting stingrays?
People, they come down here on vacation, they spend, thousands of dollars on a room someplace, for a week.
And you get cheap tickets?
I hear you, but then, when they do that kind of stuff, they feel like, because of social media and stuff, now you got to post pictures of you being on the beach and going out doing this and doing that, because if you don't have that to show everybody else, I mean, who cares about the memories you got, right? It's all about what you post on your social media now.
Yeah, those are your memories.
Yeah.
Shoot, to be honest with you, I mean, as big of a sports fan as I am, I have been to only one football game.
Was it NFL or college?
College.
Okay.
It was a Florida State game last year.
That's a good game, though.
It was horrible to leave that stadium.
Yeah.
In the clothes that I was wearing, at least.
For you, no doubt. But if it was, I mean, that game was a lot closer. Did you expect that type of a game going into that stadium?
No, I mean, I was talking smack to a lot of Florida State fans, telling them we were going to beat them with on my mind, like, we're
about to lose by 3 touchdowns.
Usually talking trash usually doesn't get you nowhere.
Yeah. That's like, how it kind of worked out.
There was a lady in the line, and she said something, and I said, I don't even know why you're here. It's just gonna be an L for y'all. It's gonna be an L for y'all.
Oh man, we're gonna get in some college football here in the next segment, though, because I definitely got to ask Dad about the Tide and what he's thinking. But we'll stick with some NFL here. I definitely want to dive into. We probably won't do fantasy football. Dad, are you still playing fantasy football? I know it's been. I think. Really, you never really played, did you? I just
Not
set
much.
I just set your lineups for you back in the Yahoo days, man. Yep. So let's. Tennessee Titans just picked up DeAndre Hopkins. Now, what do you think that does for Ryan Tannehill and the Titans?
We definitely need to. I think further develop our receiving core.
Yeah.
I'm craving a good, strong O-line.
We all are.
I mean, it's a standard thing, especially when you're a fan of a team and you see their weaknesses. Like, man, our strengths are pretty good. I mean, leave Derrick Henry alone, give him the ball, but let's build up the O-line. Let's really block for Tannehill. I mean, the guy's got a good arm.
Yeah.
He's somewhat mobile, but I don't care who you are if you don't have blocking. I mean, It's disaster.
I think, like your dad said, though, with DeAndre Hopkins and building up the wide receiver core, that's going to help. You have a good veteran wide receiver. You got the young Treylon Burks you just drafted last year, who some people might think was a waste. Well, last year was kind of a waste in a lot of ways for the Tennessee Titans, right? Give this kid another chance. Let D-Hop maybe mentor him a little bit, and maybe this kid can turn into something as great as everybody thought he was going to be about a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you think Derek Carr, Travis is a Saints fan, right? Saints fan, right?
Super Bowl champions 2024.
There we go. How do you think Derek Carr fits in with those New Orleans Saints this year, Dad?
I'm excited. There's a number of new teams coming up, and position players, have new teams and such. I'm kind of excited for the Saints' possibilities for this season.
Yeah,
I think, Carolina is not going to have. I don't think Falcons is going to. I think that NFC South, to me, will be more between a battle between Saints and Bucks, and I think Saints are going to pull it out. I think they'll be in playoffs. I don't know how far in the playoffs, but I think they'll be in the playoffs.
Well, I think that too, and I joke around about the Super Bowl thing. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a possibility, right? Because the one thing about all of my teams right now, as far as football goes, is there's so much questions. Is Michael Thomas going to be healthy? Is he going to stay healthy? I mean, I guess the question's answered with Alvin Kamara. Yeah, and
it's not technically answered yet, but
I'm still not even really worried. Yeah, we got Jamal Williams. Yeah, and I was high on that guy last year whenever I was watching him with Detroit. So, I mean, I think playoffs are a real thing. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Super Bowl is a real possibility. Can we beat the Eagles?
I think 1 out of 16 teams
in the playoffs.
Or I think 16 out of 16 teams have a legitimate.
If I was a Saints fan, NFC. I would actually I hate to say this, man, hope for a not a good season so you get a good draft pick. I think the Saints really need to draft a young and develop a quarterback. They haven't done anything really good with a position like that in quite some time.
I feel like they just drafted a quarterback.
We did. We just
Aiden O'Connell.
You know what? I don't even remember what.
I'm talking about somebody that after Raiders. Within a year can come in and play too. I'm not.
Well, I mean,
about,
Derek Carr,
a 3rd or 4th round or 5th round pick and somebody that's a 3-year project. I'm talking about getting somebody.
Oh, they got the what's his name, Jacob Hayner from Fresno State.
I mean, I know Derek Carr's not this spring chicken.
That's a project.
Yeah.
I also think that Derek Carr is a
he's a serviceable quarterback. Yeah. He's a face of a franchise quarterback, but as far as maybe getting you to the Super Bowl, I don't know about with that guy.
He's been 9 seasons. 6 of those seasons, he's had to deal with a whole different scheme.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
I would argue his brother was better than him, even though, and his brother just got the crap beat out of him. With the Texans every game, and that's the reason why he got out of the league pretty quick. And probably parts of the reason that Derek Carr has the issues that he has too.
Yeah, no, that very well could be. And he's going to have a great defense, though, Derek Carr is this year, which is going to be something that he hasn't had when he was there in Vegas. I don't think that we can sit here and definitively say that the wide receiving core for the Saints right now is better than what the Raiders had last year just because of Devontae Adams.
We're talking about Chris Olave is
that's what I'm saying.
Up-and-comer.
That's why I'm saying I'm not going to say it, but I think that this year you would see. I think this year you'll see the Saints core be better than what the Raiders core is. I would say that the running back room is almost a wash. I would give it to Josh Jacobs, but then if it's not Jimmy G playing quarterback for the Raiders this year and you go on with Aiden O'Connell, then the ceiling for Josh Jacobs just dropped a ton.
Well, see, with the wide receiver room, the way that I mean, you've got Chris Olave, which he shined bright with Andy Dalton throwing him the ball. So, I mean, that's saying something. You got Michael Thomas if he stays healthy, because we all know he breaks a toenail and he's got to be placed on IR.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to break no toenail, though. That would kind of hurt to be running off. Yeah, but I get what you're saying, though. I get what you're saying. What you got?
Okay, man.
Yes, sir.
Just to pick your brain, your thoughts. If Carr goes this season and does relatively well, and I get your perspective on a not so good season, so I get a good draft pick, how many seasons would you project holding him in the saddle, Carr that is, and draft next year? Let's say they draft good QB pick. How many years would you give Carr as far as being a mentor, bringing this young guy up?
It depends on the guy that you end up drafting. I mean, you got a guy that you can bring in pretty quick, Right. I mean, you guys were just talking about Chris Olave, okay? So he played last year, okay? In a couple more years, he's going to demand a pretty nice-sized contract, okay? So what we've seen here in the NFL is you have to pretty much get a quarterback when he's young, okay, and usable to get you to the promised land, because by the time you have to pay that guy a bunch of money, you're not going to have the money for the other skill positions like wide receiver or like a defensive end or a guard, or a good cornerback, on the secondary. So because of the way they're spending the money, you have to get that young, great quarterback, I feel, nowadays in today's NFL if you want to, have that, like, how should I say, just that looking forward to the future. If you want to have that bright future, you can sit around with a guy like a Derek Carr and you can pay him a decent amount of money, okay? But, through his track record, what we've seen, what he's had around him, he hasn't been like a top-notch MVP type quarterback. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, like I said, get somebody young and up and coming that you can get like on a first-round pick, throw him in within a season and see what you got, roll the dice.
I think Derek Carr is eating this year with New Orleans.
I mean, the thing that I will agree with you on one thing, though, because whenever Derek Carr was available, there was two things that I said for the Saints to do in order to win. There was get Derek Carr, make him your starter. Get Hendon Hooker, because he is, injured. He will learn. He is a fabulous quarterback from what I've seen. I mean, I'm very high on Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, it's just the age, though. That's going to be...
Saints are going to be the beneficiaries of a weak division.
Yeah, and that's why I think that he eats,
and
though.
So I mean, he'll have, like, elevated numbers, but, it's against subpar competition. For the most part.
Right, and then you just have to see where that takes you to, what matchup it takes you to in the playoffs.
Right, but if you're used to playing subpar competition most of the season, then you have to go against some of the best in the league.
But at some point in time, you're going to be playing some of those best in the league teams.
Right,
you know what I mean? You're going to be able to see that. Are we playing to our competition, to the level of our competition? Are we standing up when we're playing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but a third of your season's games are against Falcons,
6 out of the 17.
Panthers, Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Okay, so with the team that you got, you have at least a 50-50 shot or better to win every one of those games.
Well, I mean, the way I see it on the Saints, and I am high on the team as far as the team. I think the players are great. I think everybody fits well. I think if the Saints lose, it's not the team, it's not the players, it's going to be the coach. I do not have very much faith in the coach.
And Dennis Allen as a defensive coordinator?
Yeah, I don't like it. I didn't like the move. I didn't like it when they did it. The only thing that I think he's done very well is he went and got Derek Carr, and I think that is a good reason why we got Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Was because he was there.
Well, I won't stand for any more slander of David Carr because he is a Super Bowl champion. So I didn't even know that. I had no idea that he won a ring with the Giants in 2011. Yeah, as a backup to Eli Manning. So yeah, Johnny Yankee.
What's like Garoppolo saying
Facebook,
that? Garoppolo's a Super Bowl winning champion.
Yeah,
isn't he like a couple Super Bowls?
Yeah, but I mean, again, like you didn't play. You got a ring for sitting on the bench.
But a ring is a ring, baby. A ring is a ring.
You can still sell that for a bunch of money if you want.
Daggone right, man. You're daggone right. All right, Dad, we got about 2 minutes left here. You might not have even thought about this yet to this point, but who represents the AFC? Who represents the NFC in the Super Bowl? Way too early, so it's a good excuse to if you get it wrong at this point in time.
I'm going rematch. I don't
rematch.
KC, Philly, and I think Philly's going to pull it out.
Okay, let's exclude the Tennessee Titans from this part of the question. If you got to pick who plays in the Super Bowl, Tennessee Titans not allowed though, which two teams would you like to see in the Super Bowl? While you're thinking of that, I want to say I wouldn't mind seeing the Eagles back there taking on the Bills just for the fan bases. Now I'm gonna have to look at
a lot of alcohol sales during that game.
Oh boy, I think we'd be drunk vicariously through the people at the game.
I can side with you on that, especially the Bills and the AFC side.
You can't cop out like that.
I like that pick.
I like your dad's idea. I said it earlier this week. It's a great Sammy Hagar album too, by the way. Rematch. But
if only I got royalties off of mentioning that.
The only thing about that is, though, I mean, the Chiefs 5 years in a row now, you know, having the AFC Championship game there in their house and them going to 3 Super Bowls.
But somebody's got to rise up and knock them
That's
off.
what I'm screaming.
It's like Bama. I'm a Bama fan. I will be until I'm 6 feet under or 12 feet under. Georgia has
you think
done
I got that
it.
kind of money to bury you 12 feet deep, dude?
Georgia has done it 2 years in a row. I mean, we kicked ourselves in the foot last year, but be that as it may, Georgia's done it 2 years in a row. Will they do it this year? I'm not so sure.
No.
We'll see, but I don't see that happening. I don't know that Bama's going to be in enough rebuild mode yet. I know we're getting to that segment, but I'm just saying, somebody's got to rise up and knock KC off.
Yeah.
And it should have happened with Philly.
I'm not even talking about the Super Bowl. I'm talking the AFC Championship game.
And we're gonna keep it rolling here. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Give us your calls or text or topics at 850-215-6290. We'll be right back.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
That ball is going to be out of here.
America's team plays here.
Bombs away.
The Atlanta Braves are back and making a statement.
Ronald Acuna just clobbered one to left.
Listen to Atlanta Braves baseball in a rich audio experience live on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Here comes the thunder.
Sponsored by Gilbert Kia, Reliable Hydraulic Solutions, Mid-South Lumber, Stormore Portable Buildings, and Brock Pest Control.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 81 with a 5 to 10 miles per hour wind out of the southwest. A possibility of thunderstorms and some sun tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 88. Likely thunderstorms and light sprinkles in 89 in the afternoon and evening. 83 indefinite thunderstorms and very heavy rain with a light breeze Sunday. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
From the pros to the future pros, we're your home team station for home team sports. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're back in the doghouse. Don't forget about your Atlanta Braves tonight. Coverage starting at 6 o'clock. First pitch tonight, 7:10. Braves and the Brewers should be a great one. SEC Media Days wrapping up. We've got the SEC Media putting their votes out, their SEC All-Team, and all of that good stuff. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick, Travis Peterson, David Hayes Sr., my dad, and Bone Crusher. This is the Afternoon Underdogs, and we're on 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. It's the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got 3 phenomenal local shows right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Weekdays from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. is the Coach James Hill Show. From 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. it's the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey, and Jay Henley is going to be back next week, and then we wrap up your afternoons, the Afternoon Underdogs from 4 to 6, and on Monday at 5:20 it's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Todd Mueller talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them. Plus, we're going to be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290, Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida. Vanderbilt, y'all. Vanderbilt picked last to finish in the SEC East, but also they received 8 first-place votes in the division and then 5 votes to win the SEC championship. So who was taking acid or mushrooms or whatever when they were making these votes today? I saw a bunch of people on Twitter today saying, name yourself. Who voted for Vanderbilt to win the SEC? So, if we were to put odds on this, they got to be 1,000,000 to 1 long shot, right? Like, I know that we all kind of like what Clark Lee is doing with the Vanderbilt Commodores, and that's a beautiful story, but golly, like, are we getting to the point? We saw the layoffs from ESPN, like, how long are we going to be in this era? And it's probably just going to evolutionize into something even worse. But how long is this clickbait world that we live in going to be the status quo? You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of getting ridiculous that we have to click on things, or that we click on things just because the headline is intriguing, and then we get into the article and there's absolute zero substance.
You got to stop clicking. Yeah, if you don't click, they're not gonna, nobody's gonna post the garbage. So, you just have to, be judicious on what you're clicking on, I guess.
There you go.
If it sounds like it's pretty suspicious, don't click on it.
Well, it's not about suspicious. It
would be.
Articles.
Well, how would that be? That many people picking Vanderbilt, to me, that kind of sounds a little suspicious.
We're not talking about just your average Joes. This ain't David Hayes in here throwing, you know what I mean, votes in or anything. This is like the SEC media. Like, you gotta have certain
SEC
credentials
media that needs likes and that needs followers and that needs people subscribing to podcasts and whatnot.
Yeah.
And what better way are you going to do that to get somebody? It's like Howard Stern. People complained about him, but the people that complained about him still listened to him, so he still got ratings and he still made lots of money. And in those dopes that hated him, if they didn't want to have him succeed, they shouldn't have been listening.
Yeah. So Georgia did you have something, Travis? I noticed that you were gonna.
I was just gonna say I want some of what they're smoking, because I might actually think mine will win the whole thing.
Woo! I love it. Bone Crusher always on top of things back there.
Ric Flair?
Yeah, that was Ric Flair. Or it could have been Bone Crusher impersonating Ric Flair, actually. Georgia is favored to win the East by a large amount, 265 first-place votes. No surprise there at all. Tennessee with 14 first-place votes, South Carolina with 3, and Kentucky with 1. And then again, Vanderbilt in third place, even though they got 428 total points, they got 8 first-place votes to win the East. In the West, who do you think it is in the West? We'll start with you, Travis. Who do you think that they've got favored, just the SEC media here, to win the Western Division?
That's Alabama's division, right?
Yeah. It's Alabama, LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, Mississippi State. Soon to be, nothing, because the West and the East is history after this year.
I'm thinking about LSU. I think they got LSU.
What do you think, Dad?
I was going to be my guess.
All right, Caveman.
Alabama.
All right, yeah, Alabama leads actually with 100. Wow. Good, I like that.
It shocks me, honestly.
I need to get you on there.
After 2 years of Saban not winning and eating lots of rat poison, I'm sure the troops are going to be fired up this season.
Yeah. We need to get Dad on the Coach James Hale show one of these times. I think you and him would just cut up, man. I'm ready. Just all day ready. Alabama. Alabama leads 165, or with 165 first place votes. LSU with 117. Then you got Texas A&M with 1. None for Ole Miss, which I find surprising, especially with how well they did in the transfer portal. Arkansas's got 3 because of KJ Jefferson. Auburn has 4. Maybe Hugh Freeze got to vote 4 times. I don't know what's going on.
The comments of Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. No.
That got him 0.
It could be,
complaining about NIL.
But at the end of the day, he was right, though. That's what I don't understand, the backlash when what he's saying is right.
Well,
just
like
because
I said
it's
earlier,
Lane Kiffin. I know,
wrong messenger.
But that doesn't matter to me. Like, to me, it's if someone's spitting what's right, no matter what they did in the past or whatever, right is right and wrong is wrong. And so if he's spitting the truth, then I don't care who the messenger is. You know what I mean?
And like I said, too, it's kind of like Canseco spilling the beans about steroids in baseball. Who better to do that than the guy that was over neck deep in it? So, you can look at it either way.
Yeah.
But some people aren't going to like it, because of what he's done in his past, and then be like self-righteous and be talking about all this stuff.
So does that give anyone the right to not vote for? Or I guess it does, because it's your vote, so you can choose.
Well, we've seen like how sports writers vote. People. If you give somebody a certain interview, or you screamed at them during a press conference or something like that, you're going to get some bad love from some of these writers, or not get a vote in the Hall of Fame or whatever.
Well, we're also talking about how these people carried themselves. It's not how, they're going to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just didn't like the way Lane was, carrying
just too
himself
cool
through.
for school.
Yeah.
Well, get your popcorn ready, SEC, because we've got a long season of football. It's not really a long season. It's a very short season. I tell you what, man. But it is what it is. It's like one of those things where you can't wait for it to get here, but once it gets here, man, time just rolls
as soon as football
on.
starts, it's like before you know it, it's like week 7, then it's week 12.
Yeah,
it's
like
Christmas.
Week 17, and then you're into playoffs, and it's like, where did all time go?
Yeah, it's like when we're sitting here talking about the time and all that. I'm, as a Florida Gator fan, I kind of judge it off of the games that we play. We play FSU at the end of the year in November.
Right. Yeah. And
so I mean, November's like.
It feels like when you sit here and you tell yourself, well, it's July, like November's a little whiles away, but then you get to August and you get to September, and now you're just really a full 30 days away from the month of November, depending on where you're at that point in September. When it comes to the SEC champion, no surprise here. Georgia got 181 points, and the next closest was Alabama with 62, and LSU had 31. The rest was all under 5, honestly. In fact, Tennessee got 5 points. Vandy got 5 points. Arkansas got 2 points. Auburn 2 points. Texas A&M 1. Mississippi State 1, and South Carolina 1 as well. What do you think that the Tide do for the quarterback position? You got Ty Simpson. You got Tyler Buckner. You got Jalen Milroe. Which direction do you think Tommy Rees and Nick Saban go in this year at the quarterback position?
For his leg's sake, I'm okay with Milroe. Doesn't have the best arm.
Yeah.
But he can scramble. He's mobile. I think if we can get a good solid backfield, and maybe be more of a running team and just pound the ball, that would suit him more than throwing it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about the up and comers. These new guys coming in. I think
like Julian Sayin.
I think there's a future, and when they're not coming at the crest of Bama, although we haven't been knocked off our dynasty yet, they're not coming in that we've just pulled in 2 natties. They're coming in where we have won him in the CFP last year, and they're looking at Georgia now as, the kingpin. These guys are going to be hungry. I mean, Caveman, you said a while ago, these guys are going to be very, very hungry, I feel. I think Saban's going to have everybody ready to rock and roll going against Texas.
I kind of disagree with you to a point there. And if it is a heavy run offense, if that's what Tommy Rees instills there for Alabama's offense, then I think Jalen Milroe could be a good...
He's got the most experience.
He's got the most experience, and he's a great runner, but I just don't trust him throwing the football. And so that's why I would rather lean on a Ty Simpson, or is Tyler Buckner comfortable with the system that Tommy Rees is going to have in place? Because if it's Jalen Milroe and we get into trouble late, you know what I mean? And we've had that. And we've had that, though, the last 2 years. It hasn't been blowout after blowout after blowout. It's been close game after close game after close game. So you know that you're going to get into those situations, and Jalen Milroe can't be the guy. We saw that last year. I'm even surprised. I guess because there was no other quarterbacks really that were standing out, that's why he didn't transfer out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been surprised had Nick Saban been like, look, maybe for you as a quarterback, it would be better for you to find somewhere where you fit in a little bit better so that you do get some playing time. So
it is possible to use both. I mean,
it is.
Florida had used Anthony and
No, it wasn't.
No, it was the other guy that moved to Arizona State.
Philippe. Emory
Jones.
Yeah, Emory Jones.
So they used Emory Jones and...
Tell me about how that season played out for you guys last year.
Well, I mean, look at Emory Jones.
All right, well, I'm just saying, though, that's 2 quarterback systems don't...
if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have 1.
Yeah, right, essentially. So, and I do agree with you. You can skate through a season like that. I just don't know if that's... if you're looking to be in the college football playoff, I think it's got to be one guy, unless one guy's injured or so.
I know it's not college, but the Saints run 2 quarterbacks at a time.
That's
or you pull a guy at halftime and you threw the other guy in after the half.
I'm talking about if Milroe can run.
Yeah.
Put
him in like a Taysom Hill type.
Yeah, like
position?
your 3rd and 2.
Yeah. Use them in a certain package.
Yeah,
Use them in a
Wildcat.
certain package. I love that, and especially that there's not a Bryce Young. I think definitely a package could be set up for Jalen Milroe. As far as that, like look at the Texans last year where they kind of gave up on Davis Mills, and so that they let Jeff Driscoll and Davis Mills play quarterback, and it was just basically they're just trying to figure out who's going to be sticking with the Texans throughout next year at that point in time. So I think I like the idea. I love the package side of it, but as far as just trotting 2 out and running with that. Now, here's the thing, though. It will be like that for the first couple weeks of the season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've seen it year in and year out when Jalen Hurts and Tua, no matter what, you're going to see both of these quarterbacks for the first 3 weeks until one and especially with a 3 quarterback race right now, like it's going to be who's the odd man out, and then those 2 guys are going to be battling at the beginning of the season.
You need to figure it out.
See, and I thought
Need game time.
I thought that quarterback room was decided, and on not to switch it up, but on Florida, I thought quarterback room was decided. But I just got a message before I came in here that said no quarterback has been selected.
But I think that's a big thing of coach speak too. Like unless you're the incumbent starter and you were just light years ahead, or you were the guy last year. But Graham Mertz coming in from Wisconsin. Who's the other guy that is going to be battling with him?
Mertz.
By not doing that, you're breeding competition between your quarterbacks. You're
honestly, I think it's Max Brown. Though, not to interrupt you, but I think that's
I'm just saying, like, just real quick though. I mean, just like that's what you want to do. You want to have them, and like Dave said, unless you had an incumbent, unless you had somebody who was the bona fide starter, you want there to be that mystery there, so that you can get the most out of both of those guys, so that you can figure out who is the best person to start.
We had a pretty good quarterback, and then he messed up.
Oh. Jalen Kitna?
I don't even like saying his name.
Well, the Chargers,
His dad was pretty good.
They were dropped, and so I think he's entered into the transfer portal, because I know he wasn't even allowed to be on the Florida campus after all of those charges and everything until 2025.
I know this is not a crime segment, but
it's
I don't think
podcast.
I do not think that he should have been charges dropped. By no means. That is terrible.
Well, we've already talked about Alabama. We've already talked about Georgia. So, I mean, this might as well be,
well, no, first we got to hit Northwestern, and then we can hop on to Jalen Kitna. Shouldn't be laughing about that at all. I'm really just trying to look over here at the 2023 Gators depth chart for quarterback, and it's looking like you guys have, so Graham Mertz, they've got one. Jack Miller, all right, I remember him. Max Brown, and then Micah Leon and Parker not entirely sure
I've
how to pronounce that.
Jack Miller out because he was horrible that last game. Yeah. Which, I mean, it was a depleted team. So, I mean, it was a team that didn't have anything to play for.
All right. So, what you got?
Is there a dark horse?
In the SEC or?
Quarterback-wise.
Quarterback-wise.
Bama.
For Heisman? Like, what do you mean?
Just to start? Come out of nowhere and take the lead, take the reins.
Everybody's kind of new.
I think of the 3, which school are we talking about? I'm so
Bama,
lost.
First and foremost. I mean,
so you're just saying like who's the dark horse to break out?
Yeah, I mean, like we're not on board with Milrose,
right?
Taking the team necessarily. So out of the 3,
but there's like no front runner, so there's no dark horse. If that makes sense.
There's not. Yeah.
That for me, there's no dark horse because there's not a front runner, because I really think all 3 have different. Like we don't know anything about Tyler Buchner. Right? You know what I mean? Like, he barely played anything before he got hurt last year at Notre Dame. With Ty Simpson, you got to watch the spring game to find out what you're going to get from Ty Simpson, and that's, not reality there. Right. And then Jalen Milroe, we've seen a sample size from him. So if I were to say that Jalen Milroe is the front runner because of experience, then I would say that the dark horse is going to be Tyler Buchner because of his relationship with Tommy Rees.
All right.
That would be my guy. That would be the dark horse to break onto the scene and be like, oh, golly. I thought you were talking like Heisman or something. I don't think any of those guys, I don't think anyone on the Alabama roster is capable of the Heisman Trophy this year.
No, we don't have anybody.
All right, but that's the beauty of the Heisman Trophy, though, right?
Start with Middle Tennessee, right? So get those guys out there, play all 3 of them, and see what you got before you got to play Texas in week 2.
Oh, that's right, though. So they really don't have the cushion that they've had in years past, because when Jalen Hurts played his first game, it was against USC, right? But USC wasn't they were hyped going into the season because they're USC, but they were a shell of what we knew from the Pete Carroll days and everything. So they don't have that long of a leash. It's got to be Middle Tennessee, and then who's the guy going into Texas?
Yeah.
Even still, it seemed like the...
it's actually in Tuscaloosa, looks like, though. It's not at Texas.
Well,
last year was at Texas,
yeah,
wasn't it?
I just mean
and they got
Texas.
out by a point, right?
2
Skin of their
points.
teeth.
20 to 18, I believe. Yeah.
And only because of, what's-his-face getting hurt.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, Ewers and then Card coming, right?
Which direction were you headed, Dad?
Just remember the USC game, I think the jitters got hurt because first snap.
Fumble. Yeah. I was like, get out of there, man. Like, come on, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And then look at him now.
He's doing all right.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I mean, that's an example of rebounding.
Yeah,
you know?
no, 100%. And maybe someone can turn into that. Jalen Hurts, the problem is I don't think we've got a Tua on the bench. And not even going to the Georgia, I'm just saying not even the bench side, but the transition from Jalen Hurts to Tua. Like,
and there's
you know
something
what I
to
mean?
starting out like that, like having a bad start. Like you guys were talking on, was it on the Inside Drive about a golf game?
Yeah.
Your first hole, maybe bogeying or double bogeying, getting it out the way because, like, if you get a birdie on the first one, I mean, obviously you're not going to get birdie on all of them.
Yeah.
So, get the bad one out the way and then just kind of get your focus together and finish it out strong.
We were talking about Heisman. I don't know of any quarterback at least in the SEC other than maybe LSU's quarterback that could.
Jaden Daniels, KJ Jefferson. Those will be your guys that'll be vying for the Heisman spotlight, if you will. But outside of those guys,
I know ACC.
But he's saying in the SEC quarterback.
I know like ACC is going to be like Jordan Travis has got a. I hate to say that because I hate Florida State, but
Bone Crush, you want to go to a break before we take this next call? All right, well, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. John, just hang on the line and we'll be right back with you, all right?
ESPN Northwest Florida has the real local fishing report. Hi, this is Tim from Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Join me every Friday at 4:20 during the Afternoon Underdogs. It's accurate, detailed content from local anglers, plus fishing updates on Saturday and Sunday morning right when you hit the water. Advice and stories from local anglers. Tune into the Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle Fishing Report, exclusively on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 81 with a 5 to 10 miles per hour wind out of the southwest. A possibility of thunderstorms and some sun tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and hot near 88. Likely thunderstorms and light sprinkles in 89 in the afternoon and evening. 83 indefinite thunderstorms and very heavy rain with a light breeze Sunday. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for keeping that dial on ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Let's see. Diamond stud earrings for Marcy, Bullo watch for Tommy, tennis bracelet for Kathy, and Keith wants a 14-karat chain. Oh, and Hannah wants those white gold hoop earrings.
Okay, guys, Santa gave me his list. He knows that Tracy's Fine Jewelry has the largest selection and lowest prices you'll find anywhere. We've stocked the cases, slashed the prices, and we're offering a free 6-month layaway on our entire jewelry selection. For a stress-free holiday, Tracy's Fine Jewelry, where Santa shops.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
The mission?
Your mission, should you decide to accept it.
Save the panhandle from boring cookie-cutter radio. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
This tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. It's the Afternoon Underdogs final segment of the week right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Your Atlanta Braves coverage starts tonight, 6 o'clock, and the first pitch tonight, 7:10. Braves versus Brewers. We've got John on the line here in Panama City. John, what's going on?
Hi, guys. I'm called to say good afternoon, and I wanted to thank each and every one of you guys at Northwest Florida ESPN on everything that you guys do. I've heard you guys talking about the SEC, I don't know, for the last 15 minutes or so. And none of you have brought up the other Tiger, the Missouri Tiger. What do you think about the Tigers this year in Missouri? How are they going to hang in?
That one is one that I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on. I'm really hoping for Eli. I mean, the Tigers have always been one of those teams who, like you just mentioned us not talking about, they don't get talked about a whole lot, but somehow they've had rather a successful tenure here in the SEC. So that's are you guys bringing your quarterback this year?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. That's why I'm calling to ask you guys. You guys probably know about the Tigers a little bit more than I do and what's going on.
All right, so looking here at the quarterback position for you guys, it's going to be Brady Cook. So, but you got Jake Garcia as the backup there. Looking through the roster real quick, I'm really going to have to look at the schedule to give a better synopsis. But, right now, I'm seeing Missouri as more as one of those teams. If they're going to explode this year, it's going to be as more of a dark horse. The SEC media kind of sees that as well. I mean, it's still so wild seeing Vanderbilt here with 8 first place votes for the SEC East, but they're just right behind Missouri there, who had 658 total points. So I think that's another reason is with Brady Cook being the quarterback. I don't know a whole lot about him yet. That's going to be one of those teams that I'm looking at week 2, week 3, and seeing, okay, seeing where they're at. It's like Arkansas is a team that I don't know if anyone's talking about Arkansas this year. Outside, they've got a great head coach that everyone loves in Sam Pittman, as far as being a likable head coach, right? And then you got Raheem Sanders and KJ Jefferson, but outside of that, like there's not a lot of talent being brought back. And so with a team like that, KJ, if Missouri had the quarterback recognition right now, I think they're getting a little bit more love. But yeah, that's it's a little ways out for me with Missouri right now. What do you got?
I was just going to say, I think lately, and what we've seen the last couple of years, it seems like they play up or down to their competition when they play against better teams like a Georgia or something like that. They almost beat them, exactly right, and put a scare in them. So if they can get over that, and I think it also depends on where and when they're playing some of these teams. Obviously, a lot of these teams like in Alabama, Georgia, they're not used to going to a place like a Columbia, Missouri in November and playing games in areas like that where it could get pretty cold and kind of nasty out. So that can benefit them later on in the season if they get those home games against some of those better teams.
Does Missouri still have that field goal kicker?
Oh, I want to say
the thicker kicker. I can't remember his name. He was a big old boy that could put him through the uprights.
Oh, I'm looking here. I'm not seeing here. I'm not seeing him on here anymore. So let me see if I can hit a Google on him. But I was looking at the schedule though while Caveman Rick was talking, and it does look, I don't want to say favorable in the terms of Georgia because there's a level of differentiation there between, or drop off rather, between Georgia and Missouri. But to start out South Dakota State, then Middle Tennessee, then Kansas State. Kansas State is going to be that game where it's like, where is Missouri at in the SEC? Even though Kansas State isn't a SEC team, but they will give you that look in. And then you've got Memphis, Vanderbilt, and then that's when the schedule kind of turns around and gets tough for you. So if y'all can start out, if Missouri can start out winning those first 5 games, they're definitely going to be bowl eligible because they've got Kentucky on the road, then they host South Carolina, then on the road at Georgia, then Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas. It's going to be a tough go the second half of the season for them, but for the first half of the season, especially if they come away with a win against Kansas State, things are going to be looking up for the next year. And I don't think Eli Drinkowitz hits the hot seat provided he gets off to a hot start.
Florida play them at home?
Florida plays them in Missouri.
Well, my heart's always going to be with the Missouri Tigers. My grandfather graduated there and lettered in basketball, and he was 5'4", and he graduated in 1934.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been told that he's been acquaintance with Naismith and Fogg. And I've always been told next time you're in Columbia, Missouri, just go to the library and look it up. And I was too busy watching football games, other things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't really have time to go to the library.
I spent 4 years myself in Missouri, outside the St. Louis area, and one thing I do know about Mizzou fans is they have a big following. There's quite a lot of them in Missouri. A lot of them that I've known too are got some deep pockets. If Missouri wants to make some waves in the SEC, they're going to have to up their game with facilities to match teams like LSU, Alabama, Georgia, to get those recruits, to get those NIL type players, and if they can do that, I think they can actually, progress in the SEC, but it's going to take some time and it's definitely going to take some money.
Well, and I've also got a friend of mine who's friends with Coach Pinkel, and he's doing great. Looks good and doing great. I want everybody to know that.
That is awesome stuff. Hey, John, thank you so much for the call.
Hey, thank you guys for what you do.
Absolutely. That is great stuff. Thanks for the call, John. And Missouri Tigers, that's what the coolest part about the SEC love that we have around here. And then you're going to be bringing in 2 more Big 12 schools in Texas and Oklahoma, and that fan base is just, the SEC fan base is going to get a little bit wider here. It's going to be a lot of fun in college football this season, and then next year we go to the 12-team college football playoff. So you could be talking about a team like Missouri getting into the college football playoff. I don't think I can say fairly confidently that I don't think that's happening this year. But next year, who in the world knows, man? Because Oklahoma could take that. Oklahoma and Texas could then be looked at like Texas A&M and Missouri were looked at for a while in the SEC as kind of being like those, yes, you're SEC, but you're kind of outsiders. And Texas A&M and Missouri now will be like,
it's going to be a lot harder, a lot more competition too for a lot of these other teams that normally are sitting at the top of the SEC.
I don't know. I think Oklahoma and Texas are going to fare well in the SEC.
Oklahoma needs to fare well in the Big 12
no. I'm sorry. I think Texas is going to fare well in the SEC.
But see, Texas just kind of lives off that Longhorn recognition, that name recognition, because what have they done? When's the last time they won the Big 12?
Yeah, but now they've got SEC. Everybody wants to go to the SEC.
And that will help their recruiting. And then also, you've got a huge name that is going to draw other recruits to them in Arch Manning. And that's going to be the most interesting part, because not in 2024, but in 2025, Ole Miss, Texas, that's going to be...
That could all change after 1 year, though. Arch comes out, has not a great season because of the transfer portal, and dudes can just jump ship, too.
Maybe so. Who knows what in the world could happen.
He has to produce. He has to be the real deal.
I don't know.
If I saw Eli, get drafted by the Chargers and end up playing for the Giants, so who knows?
If I was a betting man, I would say Texas fares well. And because they are what they are now, and they went up to Alabama and kind of kicked them right in the stomach, and it was like, oh, this team exists.
Well, it was in Texas last year. This year it's going to be in Alabama, but
it's Alabama.
No, I feel you. I hear you on
and
that.
What's the odds too of a third generation, player actually excelling to the level of his 2 previous generations?
I would say if he was Peyton Manning's or even Eli's son, it would lessen that. But because it's Cooper's son.
I feel you on that too.
You know what I mean? That makes a little sense.
It's a little different, but it's still, same.
Who knows? Who knows if it's actually going to work out, and especially to try to live up to all of that hype.
If there is one family out there, though, playing quarterback.
Right.
I don't know how he can live up to a Manning. Up to the Mannings. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He is a Manning, but
I think the best thing that's working out in the favor of Arch Manning is that he didn't go to Tennessee. He didn't go to Ole Miss. He gets to kind of have his own legacy with the Texas Longhorns. That's going to do it for us today. You've been riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Thank you guys so much for your calls, for your texts, all of that good stuff. We'll see you Monday. Don't forget Blast at Bay Point Monday at 8:40 on the Coach James Hale Show. For Bone Crusher, my dad, Travis, and Caveman Rick, I'm David Hayes. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. Y'all have a great day, and your Atlanta Braves are coming up next.
It's the piece PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida.